can't overstate the importance of optimal alignment for your pelvic health. It's key to have the pelvis over top of the ankles and the rib cage over top of the pelvis. What I find most often is, and this isn't just in women, I'm seeing it in men and even children, where there is a forward lean, where the pelvis is living more over the forefeet as opposed to over the ankles. That puts the pelvis and the pelvic floor out from underneath the diaphragm, where the diaphragm and the pelvic floor like to work in synergy all day long with the breath. So when we move the pelvis out from underneath the diaphragm, we shorten the pelvic floor and we, again, take it out of its optimal relationship with that breathing diaphragm, which can then contribute to pelvic floor challenges. We're going to review a quick way to assess where you hold your pelvis. So grab a yoga strap or something with a weighted end. I want you to stand with your feet pelvis width apart. And by pelvis width apart, I mean I want you to find the two hip bones, the bony part of the front of your pelvis. And if you were to draw a straight line down, it should intersect with the top of your foot in the center of your ankle. So your feet will be pelvis width apart, and I want you to line the outside edges of your feet up with the outside edges of the mat. Taking your strap, you're going to hold it in that little notch, kind of at the top of your glutes. And you'll allow the weighted end to hang down. When you're standing closer to neutral, that weight should be over your ankle. Like I said though, most people end up with a forward press of their pelvis, and you can see how now the weight is more over my forefeet. So in order to change that, I'm going to back my pelvis up, and I want to think about bringing my perineum, so the space in between my vagina and my anus, over the space between my ankles. Once I have my feet lined up, my perineum over the space between my ankles, I want to let go of the tension that I might be holding in my glutes. Often when we spend a lot of time standing here or sitting with a tucked under pelvis, we have a lot of tension in the back part of our glutes. So back the pelvis up, perineum over the space between the ankles, blossom the butt cheeks, or think about your sits bones, the two bony points in your bum, spreading apart. Once you've done that, pay attention now also to your ribs. What can happen when we spend a lot of time sitting or with a tucked under pelvis is we actually start to shorten our psoas muscles. We have one on either side of us. And that allows or doesn't allow the pelvis and the rib cage to move independently from one another. So once I back my pelvis up and I blossom my butt cheeks, you might find in your own body that your ribs start to thrust forward. So keeping this alignment in the bottom, you want to even bring your fingers or your hands to your ribs and just guide them to soften. Even if that means rounding in your shoulders, oftentimes we are hiding our kyphosis by thrusting our ribs forward. So I'm not suggesting that you walk around like this all day if that's where your optimal alignment is, but it's a good marker for yourself to recognize you really need to open up your chest and work on your upper back to get that upper part of the alignment working in relationship to the pelvis. So this is how you would find pelvis, neutral pelvis in standing. I want to review also how to find it in sitting. So coming with your chair behind you, keep your feet pelvis width apart, find that neutral pelvis that we just had, and then observe how you sit down. Many of us are used to tucking under and bringing ourselves down into a posterior tilt and sitting down on our sacrum. Instead, I want you to imagine that blossoming of the butt cheeks and almost flip it up into the air and really stick your bum back so that you're sitting down on top of your sits bones as opposed to tucked onto your sacrum. So quick little review, that would be sitting in neutral. You will have your sit bones on the chair as well as you will feel your vulva or your perineum on the surface of your chair. That would be more the posterior tilt, or where most people are accustomed to sitting. The other thing that I'll bring attention to is the backs of our legs. Typically when we have spent a lot of time with our pelvis forward or our our pelvis tucked under, our hamstrings and our calves have actually shortened. And the more length we can gain in our hamstrings and calves, the more our pelvis can find and stay in neutral. One thing that can also contribute to that is our footwear. So if you can imagine that I was wearing high heels, in order for me to not fall forward, I need to lean back and tuck my pelvis under to get my eyes level with the horizon again. So that the shoes that we're wearing are contributing also to the shortening that we have in the backs of our legs, which then also contribute to that tucking of the tailbone. So use these self-assessments to find where you live. Spend as much time as you can in neutral pelvis through your day, making sure you get lots of movement breaks. And also keep in mind that just because neutral is better, it doesn't mean you have to spend all of your time there. You can slouch, you can hang out, you can do whatever you like, but just don't live there for the majority of your day.